Good morning, everybody. I hope you are here with your nice warm or cool beverage. It is a glorious morning. You know, God is in heaven, in his heaven, and all is right with the world. Uh,
Right at this second, just us talking to each other.
huh?
Right at this second, talking to each other.
Yeah.
Other people are saying, "What is happening?" So, Carol, yeah,
Exactly,
what?
exactly. And so, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that today. And there's some things that people might categorize as conspiracy theory. I am starting to categorize them as conspiracy fact because I'm seeing it in real life in with my own eyeballs. But anyway, we're not going to go into that today. But if unless you're on an island in the middle of nowhere with no communication, you know that the Texas Panhandle is on fire. And it is on fire in a major way, beyond anything any of us have ever seen. And we've had some fires up here. I mean, here in Fritch in 2014, they had a fire that burned 350 buildings, and the town is only 2,000 people.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, that was buildings. This week on Tuesday, on Monday, there was a fire across the lake. We, watched it, prayed for the people and stuff like that. Tuesday morning, it popped up in our neighborhood and not far, like a half mile away from our house. Uh, we prayed, it dissipated. Uh, and so that was good. But other fires popped up. There were like over 5 fires that popped up Tuesday morning. Now, on one hand, what are the chances of 5 fires in the
Five,
panhandle at
five,
one
di-
time?
5 different fires.
Five
Yeah.
different fires. And you're hearing on the news that over 1 million acres have burned. I think it's 1.1 something something right now. Well, that's not all the fires. That's one fire. That's just the Smoke Creek fire that started in Stinnett, which is just north of me. Well, there's Borger and then Stinnett, but it went all the way to Canadian Texas, which is over 100 miles. And one young man called in or put on a thread. He said, "Please pray for my sisters. Both of them lost their ranch in entirety, and they're 90 miles apart."
Mm.
Another rancher called somebody in my Bible study Wednesday morning and said, "We've lost everything, all of our herds, all of our buildings, all of our grassland." And yes, that affects us, but it affects the whole country.
It affects the world. It's going to affect the world.
It does affect the world. We have like 85% of the beef here in our area, and we are the breeding ground for all the cows. And all the farmers had planned their herds. They can time the gestation and stuff, and so they mate the cows to have had their babies. Now it's about 3 weeks ago. Babies popping up all over the place, just as you would drive into town and such as that. It just new babies, and they have been lost also. There are a few babies that are left that somehow escaped, but their mothers did not. And one rancher saying, "I will bottle feed. I have friends, I have kids. We have the pens. We will bottle feed your babies until they can come back to you." And so, we talk about being Texas strong and Panhandle strong. The communities around, even other states, are sending in their firefighters, their food trucks all over town. And you've got to realize this is Rich, Borger, Stinnett, Skellytown, Pampa, Canadian, Miami. All of these towns were evacuated. They maybe not every house in every town. We were the first evacuation order on my neighborhood, and we got to come back quickly because the fire dissipated. But meant over in a town of 2,000, just my little town, 2,000 people, over 100 houses gone. One family I'm working with, the grandmother, the brother, and the cousin all lost houses. and each of the younger households had 4 kids in it. One little 4-year-old boy had a birthday on Sunday and lost everything on Tuesday. It's just, and the trauma, we did not lose our house, but the trauma is still real. We've been going through finding, like beds. I mean, people don't have a place to sleep. We've been finding beds that they can have to, not to use, but to give, and clothes and things like that, because they have nothing. But food trucks have come up from Amarillo and from, even other states come in, and you can go eat at the food truck for free. And we have been there, we've been so busy that I wasn't spending time cooking. So we would run by, I knew the one food truck, and we'd run by. FFA groups went to the high school and cooked pulled pork sandwiches and pork burgers for people for 2 days. The outpouring of love and kindness has been overwhelming. But I want to say thank you to everyone. People, hay haulers coming in with bales of hay. There's not a lot of cattle to feed because so many were killed, thousands and thousands of them laying dead in the thing. And the sheriffs are even have to go out and shoot them because they're burning and they can't be saved. And so they don't want them to suffer. And the pictures are horrific. So, at some point, the trauma hits all of us that are here. It will hit y'all at the grocery store in the next few months, because this is the major part of your beef that you see in the grocery store. Major part. So get ready. If you can go out and buy up beef now and put it in your freezer, I would do it, because it will affect you. So just like the eggs and all the eggs the chicken farms getting burned up last year, it affected our egg prices, and they went up some places as high as $12 a dozen for eggs. So yeah, it trickles down. I don't want anybody to be fearful or, I mean, yes, have compassion, but don't get into sorry and sorrowful. Yes, there have been tears. You read the stories on Facebook of people helping people. And it just breaks my
This
heart.
compassion.
Yeah. And so, if you want to give, please put a message in there. I am not a fan of the big companies, like, I'm going to say it, United Way and Red Cross. I am more excited about local church bodies. Amarillo National Bank is a local bank, family owned in Amarillo, and they have a fund set up. If anybody wants to give money or anything like that, that is a good place to give it, and 100% of it will go to the people in the area that need it. There are other banks locally, but I know that one, and I know that one's one you can't miss. It's AMARILLO nationalbank.com, and it's a blue circle with an A in it. Borger Bank is actually a part of the Amarillo National, and Borger also was evacuated and a bunch of it burned. We have firemen. I've seen trucks from all over the country. I mean, from like even down in the valley, down at the tip of Texas at the bottom, which is a 19-20-hour drive. A neighbor and I were talking on Sunday before all this happened. And he said, yeah, it's dry, and they haven't even moved the tanker planes up this way. And there's none available. So when this thing hit, now they're like the fire yesterday that popped up, they were able to contain it. I don't know how much contained it is, but they were able to contain it. And it's on the other, just past the Fritch city limits, up by the dam where our lake is dammed. But anyway, they were able to contain it quickly. Now the planes can't fly after dark. but they've had like a DC3 or something, one of the big ones and little ones, and they've had uh the helicopter. I'm drawing a blank on the name now with the two rotors on it. That's a helicopter dropping. I mean, they're dropping water and retardant everywhere trying to contain this. So it is. When I say the panhandle is burning, believe me. But please pray for us. More than anything, pray for us and pray the solution. Don't pray, oh God, it's it's like, God, you are in control. You are mighty. You're bigger than this. You're bigger than nature. You're bigger than evil uh, intentions. You're bigger. And so call on him and call on him to come and comfort the people here. Because even though we weren't affected, especially if we're out in public, you can feel it. It is palpable in the air. We were yesterday out, and this lady came, and it's windy and it's cold, and she's trying to put her coat on, and she goes, "This is all I have left. This is all that I have left." And it was a tattered, torn coat. Obviously somebody had given her out of a pile of clothes that they had maybe worked hard in. And yeah, and she was thrilled to have it. So please pray for the people and for their hearts, because the trauma, and especially for the children. Two of my Bible study members were talking on Wednesday about they both were in fires and lost everything in a fire as children. One was 1 and doesn't remember a lot. One was 11, and she said, one day you have everything. Life is wonderful. Everything's good. And the next day it's all gone.
Gone.
And the thing is, that's half of our town. Half of our town is in that situation. So please do pray for the kids and stuff. Just, don't send money to me. I don't want to be responsible for it, although I would if that were necessary. But if you need the banking information, they are honorable. My kids went to school with the kids from that family. We know them well. And they will get the funds. It's the largest family-owned bank in the country. So it's not, it is a corporation thingy, but it's hometown folks, like life used to be when we were kids. So please do, donate that way, because that way there won't be funds go. It's 100%. Nothing goes to administration costs, nothing goes to salaries, none of that. It just goes into the right hands. So like Barbara and I said before, I don't want this to be a downer of a show, but it's a fact of life. Things happen, and
Things, life happens. Life happens.
Yeah, it seems like more and more happens, and it's getting more and more horrific. And I can't even say that it's due to social media and we know about it. For a few years, excuse me, that was kind of what we could say and think. But I mean, this is
touching you where in your backyard.
In my backyard, and this is worse than the one that was 2014 that made national news, because we lost 350 buildings in that fire, and it came up the cove, jumped the cliff that I'm kind of, I guess you'd call it a cliff, and it jumped my house and burned everything on the street on the other side of me. That one, and we were here when that was going on. But this is way more, the magnitude of this fire. And when you hear on the news 1 million acres, think that's one fire.
Right.
It's one fire. So so please pray for the people. And they were saying evacuate. I had a friend in Canadian. She tried to evacuate and they turned her around. And that same thing happened with Fritch. All the road to Amarillo was closed, and the road to Borger was closed, and the road from Borger to Pampa was closed. I mean, they and I think even between Borger and Stinnett, the fires were so massive they were jumping the roads, and the roads were unsafe. So you had to shelter in place. And if your place is on fire, you have to find another. In Canadian, they had everybody go to Wheeler to shelter. It's like 2 towns over. And a friend of mine is the fire chief for Wheeler County. Anyway, so they went to Wheeler and then they had to evacuate them to another town. So it was also Canadian, Miami, Wheeler, and these towns are 30 to 100 miles apart.
Right.
It's so hopefully that kind of puts things into perspective. Bigger than state, the one fire is bigger than some states.
Right.
And I don't mean the little bitty states, it's bigger than some states. So
Right. Yeah.
anyway, I don't bring a little bit lightness to this, Barbara, because I'm feeling
You know, the thing is, out of tragedy, all good always comes.
yes,
And I think that's what people have to really, and that's kind of where we're at right now, is that this is horrific. And yet we know that something good is going to come out of it. We just can't see it right now and
yes,
can't fathom it.
yes,
And yet, even that has like, let's go back to the shutdown. All of, and that was as awful as that was, and so many people lost businesses and people lost communication and people lost everything. So many good things have come out of it.
yes,
The
yes,
expansion of some businesses, creation of new businesses,
yes,
of
many
people that
more
are going
entrepreneurs.
into
Yes,
the entrepreneurial spirit cannot be quenched.
yes.
There is going to be good things that come out of this situation. We just don't see them right now.
Yes.
And
Well, and
that's
in
what we
Bible
have to
study,
hold tight to.
yeah, in Bible study, I was talking about one of the things this charcoal does is it feeds
Right.
nutrients into the
It
ground.
nutrients
And
into the
when
ground.
when rain comes, it will blossom. I mean, the fields will be so green because the drier grass won't be covering up any green. So that's one thing. The other thing is we were without power for 4 days. Almost it was
Mhm.
like 3.5, 3 3/4 days that we had no electricity. And
Yeah.
one thing it did for us, things that we had put in place because we do live out, um, some of them didn't work. Like our generator wouldn't come on because the battery was needed to be replaced and things like that. So, you know, a lot of things like that's good. Um, we couldn't do anything. My phone, I used all my little backup batteries and my phone was only about half charged when the lights went out. I was not charging it like I should have because I was on it. Everybody's calling saying, "Are you okay? Do you need to, we have a bed, we have this, we have that." And that went on for 2 or 3 days. So it was great to see how people cared and wanted to check on Keith and me personally. And that was great. But yes, the nutrition in the ground, but we need rain. We need rain now.
Great.
One thing that did help with the fires, even though only 15% contained, and I think the one that was at my house, that was the Windy Deuce fire. And the one that popped up yesterday was the railroad fire. I mean, they named them. Okay. I don't know why, but I guess to keep it straight,
Yeah,
we had
because everybody knows where they're going.
yeah, well, and we have had snow, and it was only maybe an inch, maybe, but it was a wet snow. But that kind of calmed down a little bit of stuff. Now all that moisture is gone as of yesterday. It lasted about a day, and probably in the fires didn't last 5 minutes, but the temperature cooled, which is good for the firemen and stuff. And so also pray for our firemen because so many of these towns have volunteer fire departments. Ours is volunteer.
Right.
And so they don't have all the whiz bang stuff that some of the big towns do. Um, but they've got heart and they're fighting for their own. One woman firefighter was fighting the fire and her house burned to the ground. She's a single mom with 3 kids. So the
Yeah.
stories that we're hearing, and great stories. One mom in Canadian with her, she was widowed this last year and she has 2 small children. She was trapped. Firefighters couldn't get to her and she couldn't get out. They finally got her out with her babies and she's safe. But, I mean, just that
That adrenaline, yes.
The
It's the
adrenaline, and then and you just are exhausted afterwards. So do, pray,
pray for rain. Pray
pray for
for rain
rain.
and snow. Pray
Yes.
for rain and snow.
Yeah. Yeah, not so much snow, but yeah. I mean,
Pray for
well,
rain.
we don't want freeze because all the fruit trees
Oh,
are blossoming. And so
right,
we don't want to lose our fruit because that'll be extra important this year. Uh,
right.
and we just planted, I think, about 10 or 11 fruit trees. I found them 75% off at Tractor Supply. And they were beautiful trees, like over 8 feet tall for $10. So we've been planting fruit trees and ours are blossoming out. So we don't want it too cold. I mean, cool is fine, but rain, we do need rain. And the prairie, when we've had this happen and the prairie blooms, it is gorgeous with the green and with the flowers. But okay, Barbie, you've been on the road from Amarillo to Fritch.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep,
Think driving to Fritch, you know what the breaks are. That's where the river makes it, and the rest of the country around here is flat. Okay. Black as far as the eye can see, both sides of the highway,
wow,
past the breaks, and about halfway from there to Amarillo.
wow,
Black.
yeah,
And Wednesday we got in. Keith had a doctor's appointment. We were able to go to Amarillo, and we were just floored by the black, but we couldn't come home. We had to drive all the way over to Panhandle and then up to Borger, praying that Borger to Fritch was open because that was still very active fires. Back to Fritch and then home.
yeah,
And Fritch was closed down. Fritch was without power for 2 days, I think, two, maybe three. And I mean, nothing in Fritch was open, and they had it barricaded off. There was so much fire you couldn't drive through Fritch that morning when we left. So we
right.
came home going, oh, we hope we get home. And so, because we have chickens to take care of. We got to let them out in the morning and put them up at night. And their
Mhm.
little lives depend on that because in the country you have predators. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, it it's such a tenuous situation still here. And there have even been comments about black, they call it black burn, and that's when it burns back on itself. And there's still enough fuel for fires to break out, even though everything around looks gone.
That they're still smoldering. Wow.
Yeah, but no, they can flame back up.
And that's what I mean. They can still flame. They can flame back up.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, lots and lots of prayers requested for around here. And I don't want to take the whole show for this, but it's Monday motivation, and I need you to be motivated to pray for us.
Exactly. And you know what? And back to, and then we'll end with this, is just that thinking positive. It's not positive thinking, but it's thinking positive. There is a difference. But when you're thinking positive, it's like knowing that something is good is going to come out of this.
Yes. Well, and that you will survive this.
That with
You will
that
survive
the
this.
human we are humans and we are survivors.
Yeah, we've
And
survived
this
for a while.
we have survived for a while, so we will survive. And we will be able to look back on this going, well, this was the beginning of this.
Yeah, think back to Noah and his family. Things were kind. Can you imagine being in the ark with all those animals? I always think feed, clean up, and they couldn't open the ark and throw it over the side. I mean, they
Yeah,
were stuck.
right. So yeah, just the logistics of it. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the logistics of this too will pass.
Yes,
And
yes,
as unfortunate it is, and my heart absolutely goes out to everybody who's been affected by it, and
yes.
those who are on the sidelines of it being affected by it.
Yeah,
We are all going to feel the pinch of
you
this.
will. You will. Yes.
All going to feel the pinch of this. So yeah,
And if you know any ranchers that are willing to donate hay and cubes and stuff like that, the last big fire they had up here, not the 14, that was my neighborhood, but the last big fire, somebody was saying the other day they had to feed cubes for 18 months before the grassland came back enough to feed their animals. And, you don't think about those things. You don't think about those things when you're at the grocery store, just,
Right.
picking up your ribeye. So anyway, uh,
So
love y'all so much. And thanks for letting me get this off my chest. I think that will help with some of my personal trauma that I'm dealing
yes,
with at the moment. So anyway, love y'all. Be sure to
have a good
like and share. If you're watching this on YouTube, um, click the thumbs up button, share with your friends. I will put some stuff in the notes. So love y'all. AmberEllaNational.com. Bye.
bye, everybody.